Hey everybody, welcome to GDD Coaching and Analysis. The Six Nations Championship 2022 is finally underway, and with the stands filled with fans, there was plenty to cheer about. Well, not so much if you're Welsh, English or Italian, but from the weekend's opener, I think the Irish have every reason to smile. While I think it's fair to say that Wales were poor, particularly in attack, there's no taking away from a thoroughly convincing performance from Sexton and co, scoring 4 tries against the reigning champions Wales. But is Ireland's attack good enough to win the Six Nations? To try and answer that question, we'll take a look at some of the highlights of their play, and I'll dig right into the details of that outstanding try finished by Andrew Conway. Let's get into it. One of the aspects of the Irish play that I really enjoyed was the variety they use in attack, particularly from set piece. Take this scrum from the first minute. Ireland don't just do the expected, and although you could argue they get more than their fair share of luck here, fortune favours the brave, and the outcome is a line out inside the Welsh 22. I'll come back to that in a moment. Let's go back to that scrum. What's Jamieson Gibson Park here? He's trying to impact a key area of Wales's scrum defence system. Thomas Williams is stood in the boot so that he can defend either side of the scrum, and he's responsible for putting pressure on the first receiver, which would be Johnny Sexton on the right and Gibson Park on the left. And that enables Dan Biggar and the Welsh backline to push out to cover the numerical advantage that results from having 15 Liam Williams in the backfield. But this lovely piece of deception from Gibson Park draws Thomas Williams the wrong way, and also puts Biggar and Tompkins out of shape. And that gives Ireland easy gain line, and the opportunity to attack a fractured defence. And importantly, Rhys Sammet has had to move up into the front line, leaving only Liam Williams covering the backfield, which is exactly why Sexton then attempts the kick short on the edge, eventually leading to Ireland's first points. Again from a left field scrum, Ireland do everything they can to unsettle Wales, this time using Conan to give Mack Hansen a run at Lewis Rhys Sammet. And to prove that centre field scrums are the hardest to defend, Ireland pull off this beauty, which completely baffles the Welsh backline, who I doubt very much would have prepared to defend such a play. Similar to the other plays, the movement in one direction draws across the Welsh defence, but this time it literally buys everyone, leaving only Adams and McNichol with 45 metres to cover. Basham does a fantastic job here to get across and just catch Ringrose's ankles. But again, Ireland are over the gain line and can attack an unsettled defence. So even with a brief reprieve with this 9 shape, there's enough separation for Sexton and Van der Fleer to expose, resulting in yet more ground gain for the Irish. Now, this clip pretty much sums up where Ireland are at with their attack. They don't have a huge amount of space to work with, around 35 metres, but they've got a 9v6, and of what's called shape on shape, with a 9 shape and 2 slider options, and then a further set of options ready to combine outside of that, and even Conway loitering with intent on the edge. And the outcome? The Welsh defenders are sat on their heels and have literally no idea where the ball is going to be played. Caelan Doris is square to the line, and importantly passes over his outside leg, which along with James Ryan's running a sharp inward line, fixes 3 defenders and gives Sexton and Keenan all the space they need. Not all creative ideas are good ones, however. Let's get back to that line out that I promised you. The line out provided the platform for all but one of Ireland's tries. As with the scrum, the plays followed a similar recipe, but each produced a very different outcome, none of which were to Wales's taste, I might add. Ireland used a 5+1 line out, with Caelan Doris stood in the centre field. Ryan Elias defends the channel in case of a front peel, which is common so close to the try line. Ellis Jenkins then looks after the maul's edge, and along with Basham, is responsible for defending the hinge space. Lewis Rhys Sammet will then pick up the pieces and cover any inside threat. But although Jenkins performs his role, Basham is held by Van der Fleer's wide carry, and Thomas Williams bites in when he should have been holding his feet and staying connected. And that, combined with Doris's angle, puts Biggar firmly in the firing line, and immediately Ireland are on top. The inside forwards hold the Welsh fold on this phase, and this lovely wide pass encourages a big underfold from Wales on the next phase. And the scene is set for a well-planned late swing from Sexton, Hansen and Keenan. I can't emphasise enough how important it is that Sexton, running at high speed, controls his feature and just squares up his hips, as that, along with a beautifully timed line from Doris, prevents the defence from drifting and even checks Liam Williams in the backfield. And some slick hands puts Bundy Aki in for a score in the corner. Now, just before we look at the build-up to Conway's second try, I just want to highlight just how clever Ireland's subtle attack variations are. The Aki try we've just seen started with Van der Fleer breaking, Doris running short, with Aki offering outside support and Sexton sliding across behind, and both Gibson Park and Hansen as further options. Then, this 6-man variation sees Van der Fleer, now at the front of the line-out, breaking away, but this time Gibson Park receives and feeds Cabri early, who then runs the Irish run around, with Aki holding square and Doris again running the short line. And I love how this then links to become a blocker, with James Hume running short and Ringrose out the back. Multiple options, shape on shape. And that brings us to the final piece of the picture to answer the question as to whether Ireland's attack is championship winning. We start with a 6+1 line-out, but instead of using Van der Fleer to break away, Ireland fully engage in the maul and use Kelleher as the link man before running another variation in the backline. Gibson Park is again the first receiver, but this time Ireland run a blocker shape first, with Aki running short, targeting Dan Biggar's outside shoulder, and both Sexton and Hansen are out the back. This second shape is then the Irish run around, with Ringrose holding square, Keenan running the short line, and that leaves Sexton and Hansen to beat McNichol and Liam Williams, putting Conway into space on the edge. And yes, you guessed it, Wales are scrambling, while Ireland have multiple options and shape on shape. The simplest of plays with Tar Burn inviting Thomas Francis to jam in puts Van der Fleer clear through, and Ireland are into the 22. With a line in sight, Ellis Jenkins somehow managed to halt the attack for a moment, but yet another huge overfold from Wales, placing 7 defenders to cover 2 attackers, opens up the open side, and despite some dogged tackling, the writing was on the wall. At this point, Conway's completely unmarked out wide, but Ireland stay patient in using the tight game, with the big ball carrying forwards repeatedly working around the corner, aiming to play between the 15s. But notice that they don't simply run at defenders. They still have a flat line and a deep line option, eventually arriving at the point where the cracks were just too much. And a lovely floated pass from Gibson Park sees Conway's patience rewarded. Even Sexton's goal kicking had more shape than the Welsh attack. So, is Ireland's attack good enough to win the Six Nations? I think they'll be right up there. But they're going to need to win the collisions against France to give them the opportunity to sparkle, as I expect the French to bring us significantly more than Wales did in defence. I think we're going to see the same kind of variety from Ireland, but a lot more of the kicking game. I really hope you enjoyed this video and picked up something interesting. Please do leave me your feedback down below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time.